Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. My name is the Steak Bake or Stakey or James, whatever you want to call me, and in today's video we are going to be discussing Euro 2020 and making our predictions. I've got the squads, I've got a tournament tree to make my predictions, so let's get straight into it, shall we? As you can see, we've got the official Euro 2020 predictor to help us through this video. I'll be leaving a link down in the description to that so that you can do yours at home, and you can tweet me or you can Instagram me or you can leave yours in the comments and we can all discuss what our selections is for the rest of this tournament. First, we're going to predict the group stage. We're going to go through every team in every group. We're going to see where I think they're going to finish, whether I think they're going to beat certain other teams, who their best players are, whether they've got any standout players. And then we're going to move on to the knockout stages, which I imagine will be a bit quicker. And then we will decide who is going to win the Euros. So, Group A first, and we have Switzerland, Turkey, Wales and Italy in this group. So we have Wales, one of the home nations, straight away in this first group. And I think they've been dealt a group which they potentially can pick up some points in and maybe even qualify from. However, I think the team topping this group is probably going to be Italy. And simply because I think they've got a much better team than they maybe have had in previous tournaments over the last 10 years or so. It'd been aging, and now they've blooded it with a few young players, but also some really reliable players such as Ciro Immobile up front. He's got 25 goals and 8 assists in 41 appearances this season, which is really good for any striker, let alone somebody who's starting up front for Italy. I think he's going to be really vital to them this tournament. And then they've also got experience and quality at centre-back position. They've got Chiellini, they've got Bonucci, they've got Acerbi, some really strong players in defence. And then likewise in midfield as well. They're looking at Jorginho. You're looking at Barella, youngster. He's an excellent player, played for Inter Milan this season. They won the league. And then we've also got people like Verratti who play for PSG. Some really big quality players in that team, mixed with some youngsters coming through as well. And I think Italy will actually have a really good tournament. So I think I'm going to put them at the top of the league here. So let's drag them into that #1 slot position. Wales now, and I actually do think they're going to get second here. Not because they're going to dominate the other teams. Don't get me wrong, this is a really tough group for Wales. I think they'll pick up points, but to finish second will be a really big achievement for them. But I do think that they have got the right players fit at the right time here to make a real contention of themselves. Gareth Bale is now fit and in form, importantly. And the last time he was in form and fit, Wales got to the semi-finals of the Euros. So I definitely think he's going to be really key for them. Ramsey's going to be playing. I think they've got some other players like Daniel James. If they can keep these core players fit, then I certainly think that Wales are going to do well and finish second in this group. However, it all relies on the players that they have currently in their starting lineup being fit, because I don't think Wales have the depth that perhaps other teams do. I'm looking at people like Wayne Hennessy in goal as their second or third choice goalkeeper. He has not played a Premier League game since the 2019-2020 season. And that is a problem. If they don't have the type of players that can come and slot in and who are fit and ready to go in the reserves, in the substitutes bench, then they're going to struggle. So hopefully Wales have done enough to get the right depth of players that have played. I hope they have, I think they have, which is why I'm putting them second. Right, the Turkish now, and I actually think they're going to really struggle in this group. I'm looking at their team, and I'm looking at the fact that only a few of them are recognisable. You see players like Çalhanoğlu, who are obviously really good at set pieces and can come up with a goal in vital situations. And you see Soyuncu of Leicester City, fantastic defender. He's quick, he can make a really good important tackle. However, I don't think that's enough to have a couple of quality players and then nothing else. I think they're in a similar boat to Wales in the fact that if they do have those players that can keep fit and stay ready in this tournament, then perhaps they will do better than I think they will. But I don't really see where their goals are going to come from. And I just can't see them really finishing above third. So if they do, it will be a third place best finish, maybe, if they can pick up points against Switzerland or vice versa. Looking at Switzerland, Seferovic has actually hit a really impressive 26 goals in 48 appearances in all competitions so far this season. However, that's for Benfica in the Portuguese league, and I don't know whether that will translate into tournament goals at an international level. I think the fact that he's not scored any in the Europa League this year in 7 appearances would imply that it's not. So I can't really decide here. I think perhaps the Swiss will just pip Turkey. However, it could really finish either way in this group. It's a standout for Italy. Italy will be laughing all the way to the bank and all the way into the knockout stages because they've got a fairly easy group from their perspective. Wales will look at the group and think they're tough games, but we can get points here. And I think the Swiss and the Turks will also be thinking that as well, which means it could be any of these in this order. But I'm going to back the Welsh boys. So yeah, that's the order I'm going to go with. Italy, Wales, Switzerland and Turkey getting knocked out at this stage. We'll decide whether Switzerland go through in just a minute. Let's see how I did compared with the rest of the world so far. So not many people backing the Welsh actually, to be fair, and people do notice that the Swiss don't look as good as perhaps they have looked in previous tournaments. The Turkish surprising me with that second place position, but that's what I'm going to go with. I'm going to stick with my decision, and that is Group A done. Now we look at Group B, and I think this group actually is slightly easier to predict than Group A in the fact that I think there are two clear teams to finish in the top two positions and two clear teams to finish in the two positions below that in third and fourth. So I think we're looking at Belgium and Denmark in the 1 and 2 slots and Russia and Finland in the 3 and 4 slots. So let's talk about Denmark first. Denmark, actually, I think are going to be some real dark horses of this tournament. They're certainly going to be a team that's really difficult to beat. I mean, I'm looking at their team right now and I'm seeing Schmeichel in goal, Christensen of Chelsea, Simon Kjær of AC Milan, Vestergaard from Southampton. That's some real quality in the defensive positions there. And then we move into midfield and we see Delaney at Dortmund, Christian Eriksen, he's just won the Serie A with Inter, a new lease of life for him after leaving Spurs. We've got Højbjerg, even the two Brentford boys, Jensen and Norgard. Their whole midfield is packed with really decent players. And then capable strikers as well. Braithwaite, Dolberg, Poulsen, all can score a goal. I think Denmark's certainly going to be in one of these top two positions. We'll put them in 2 for now while we talk about the others. But Denmark, definite dark horses for me. Belgium, obviously, going forward, are going to be a threat for any team in this tournament. They have world-class players across the board, one of whom, perhaps the best in the world in this position, is Kevin De Bruyne. He's shaken off his facial injury that he received in the Champions League final against Rudiger, and he is going to play games in the Euros. And I think that's going to be massive for Belgium, because with him fit, he can bring goals out of absolutely nothing. Left and right of him, we're going to have the two Hazard brothers, Thorgan and Eden. Both of them are fantastic for their respective teams. Eden actually has perhaps had not the best season with Real Madrid. They, of course, missed out on the title this season and got knocked out in the semi-finals of the Champions League to Chelsea. But when he turns up for his national team, Eden Hazard is fantastic. Looking up front, we're looking at Mertens, who's a fantastic player for Napoli, and more importantly, we're looking at Romelu Lukaku. 40 goal contributions in 44 games this season. That is unreal from the Belgian international, and I think he's going to be really big for them going forward. And I think it's going to be him amongst Kevin De Bruyne and Hazard's that really makes the difference for them. Of course, they've got quality across the board. They've got Tielemans in midfield. They've got people like Denayer in defence, Alderweireld, who perhaps a little aging as a defender, but still a quality defender nonetheless. Vertonghen, even I think Vermeulen's been called up as well. So they've got players who have international pedigree and international experience, and then also creative and attacking flair going forward as well. And of course Thibaut Courtois in goal as well. He's been ever reliable. I think he was up there with some of the best goalkeepers in the tournament back in the World Cup in 2018. So I think it's going to be Belgium up in the first position in this group, and then Denmark just behind. But potentially Denmark could jump above them. I think they played each other just at the turn of the year, 2020-21 turn of the year, and it was a 4-2 victory for Belgium then. I don't think the teams have changed too much since then, so perhaps that's influenced me in putting Belgium above them. But Denmark, I'm definitely tipping as dark horses. I think they might go quite far in this tournament. Now, Russia were pretty decent at the 2018 World Cup, but then again, it was in Russia. So they had the home crowd behind them. This was pre-pandemic, so they had full stadiums packed full of Russians cheering on their national team. And I think that's probably why they did so well in 2018. I can't really see it happening this time. I saw Viz, or Visualizer, who's a fellow streamer, his links will be down in the description, do a similar thing to this. And he said that teams that have a lot of players from the same couple of clubs, and CSKA and Zenit have quite a lot of players in this team, it really helps with cohesion. It means they can get going, they know what the other players in their team are doing. They don't need to bed in as much as teams that are perhaps spread across the whole of Europe, which I completely understand and I get the point. However, that is a lot of experience from players in the Russian league, which perhaps isn't as good a league as certainly some of the top 5 leagues, and they don't really have many players, if any at all, who are currently playing in those top 5 leagues, and therefore I can't really put them higher than 4th at bottom of this group. Finland then, they've got Pukki, who obviously 3rd top goal scorer in the championship this season. Couldn't really get going in the Premier League, but the season before that he was top goal scorer in the championship then for Norwich. I think he was going to be really deadly for them. Then they've got Force, who also plays in the championship, who will probably play understudy. He's got a few goals this season, 8 or 9 in the lower leagues of English football. I think they've got a couple of good players. Hradecki in goal, he's a fantastic goalkeeper in the German league, and I think that's the kind of thing. Russia don't really have those couple of quality players that stand out for me, whereas Finland have a couple, and I think that's why I'm going to put them 3rd. And that is going to be how the group looks from me, from Group B's point of view. Let's see how I did compared to everyone else. Pretty similar, except people are backing the Russians to finish slightly above Finland. But I think this group is going to finish a little bit like this. Perhaps Denmark just pit Belgium, you never know. But that's what I'm going to go for Group B. Group C then, and Austria, North Macedonia, Ukraine and Netherlands make up this slightly uninspiring group. Austria lost to a very average England side the other night. England didn't really get into first gear, and part of the reason for that was the Austrians pretty much just chopped England down for the whole time. I mean, if your plan was to injure everyone before the tournament, then perhaps that's the way you want to win games. However, I don't think it's going to work. It's a very uninspiring squad though. I think Alaba and Sabitzer are the real standout players. Alaba's obviously been at Bayern Munich for so long now. He is fantastic. I think he's leaving as well. And Sabitzer is one of those players who's just coming into fruition now. And he had a couple of really good, decent long-range shots against England, which made me think, oh, he's got something there. I think if the goals are going to come, they're going to come from him. However, I'm looking at their team now, and apart from those 2 names, there's no one really who scares me or makes me think that they're going to produce something out of nothing or stop someone else producing someone out of nothing in the defence's case. So I actually think Austria are going to have quite a tough time in this group, even though it's perhaps a more favourable draw for them. The team that's probably going to win this group is probably going to be the Netherlands, because I look at their team and on paper they should be walking it. They've got 3 people up front that could be all very capable. They've got Depay, Malen and De Jong, all 3 of which are excellent footballers, can put the ball in the back of the net. Frenkie de Jong from Barcelona is a world-class midfielder. Barcelona perhaps haven't had the best season, however he's always a standout performer for them, and it looks like he's going to be playing alongside Wijnaldum next season, who's joining on a free transfer by the looks of it, and those 2 are also going to be playing together for the Netherlands in this tournament. I think there's quality at the back too. There's De Ligt, De Vries and Nathan Ake. It's overall, it's a solid team. It has to top the group. Perhaps goalkeeper's a weak position for them, but we'll see that when it comes to the tournament. Netherlands have got to be top of the group here. Ukraine, another team with a lot of players at the same 2 clubs here, so Viz's theory could work out much more here, with most of them playing for either Shakhtar or Dynamo Kiev. But then the team is also spackled with just a little bit of quality and a little bit of experience from those top 5 leagues. We've got Alexander Zinchenko, who's of course just played in the Champions League final for Manchester City. We won't mention the fact that it was his fault for the goal. He was the one supposed to be marking Kai Havertz as he charged through. Malinovsky has had a really good year for Atalanta too, and although Yarmolenko didn't really feature that often for West Ham, they have secured European football this season, and I'm sure that some of that talent and success has rubbed off on Yarmolenko as well. I think I like them over Austria, actually. I'm going to put Ukraine second in this group, with Austria in third, although I do think that it could be either way round, although I think perhaps Ukraine would just pit. They've just got a little bit more quality for me. And I just think Austria was so uninspiring against England with pretty much their full team out that I can't put them any higher than third, really. Sorry to North Macedonia. I don't really see you finishing anywhere above fourth. Alioski from Leeds is obviously a very talented player, and Pandev could grab a goal or two, but apart from that, there's no real standout world-class players in that team. But for now, I'm going to put them fourth in this table. Let's see what other people think. As I kind of thought, I think people are overestimating Austria here. I don't think they're going to finish second in this group. I think it'll be Ukraine, but the Netherlands definitely top, and Macedonia down in fourth. Right, Group D now, and it's the big one. England and Scotland in this group, along with Croatia and the Czech Republic. It's a tough one for Gareth Southgate's side, but can they bring it home? Is football coming home? We'll find out throughout this video, but I think Gareth has set up and picked a team that's actually really capable of going far in this tournament. In fact, my views on Gareth Southgate's selection can be found in this video here, and you can go and watch that now. In fact, I will give you a second to go and pause this video, click that video, watch that video, and then you can come back and you've heard all my opinions on England's squad. So go and do that now. I'll give you a second.
A few moments later.
Now we're all caught up. You know my opinions on England's selection, and you'll know that I'm a little bit disappointed to see that James Ward-Prowse hasn't been called up. I think he was one of the players I wanted to perhaps be narrowed down into the 26, and I think I felt he would be. He then ended up missing out in the end, and even though Trent Alexander-Arnold's gone out injured, he's still not been picked, and it is Ben White who has been picked, who, to be fair to the lad, had a really, really good game against Romania. He was perhaps the best defender on the pitch, certainly better than Tyrone Mings and Ben Godfrey. Initially, I said Ben Godfrey would be the person to come in my team. In fact, I actually picked him over both Tyrone Mings and Connor Cody, who is going. But I actually think Ben White looked really competent in his position last night. He did a really good clearance off the line, made some really big tackles. His passing, there was one pass where he picked the ball up in the centre-back position and beamed a big arrow straight low pass into the midfield through a couple of defenders through a little gap. And you can see his passing ability there. So passing out from the back, he's going to be really good. And I think it looks like also Maguire might be struggling. So it looks like we're going to drop to that 3-back formation. So I imagine it will be Ben White on the right-hand side, John Stones in the middle, and Tyrone Mings on the left, with Connor Cody coming off the bench to perhaps replace Mings. I think that'll work for England. I think they've got a really good defence. But the real thing with England is that we are now perhaps hitting a golden age when it comes to attack. It's either going to be now or it's going to be at the World Cup in 2022. We'll have to see. Perhaps it's just a little bit early for a couple of them to perform really on an international stage. But I think they're performing for their clubs. They're performing in Europe. I mean, we've got league winners. We've got Champions League winners in this team. There's some really big players in there, and in attack, England are going to be exciting against every team. On paper, they should be exciting. I mean, we've got Phil Foden. He has come through the ranks this season, played for Man City brilliantly throughout. Champions League final, league winner. We've got Bellingham and Sancho at Dortmund. Their second half of the season has been nothing short of fantastic since Bellingham signed for them and Sancho found his form again. Obviously, they're linking up with world-class players like Erling Haaland right now, and that's obviously going to play right into their hands because they're going to be feeding not quite as fast a player as Haaland in Harry Kane, but they're going to be feeding him. And on to Harry Kane. Need I say anything about Harry Kane apart from how much importance he has for this team? He's probably going to be captain. He's going to score goals if he can stay fit. He's probably one of the best strikers. He's definitely one of the best strikers in the world. It's between him and Lewandowski for who is the best striker in the world, and Harry Kane's going to be vital. I thought perhaps in the warm-up games we looked a little bit slow to get into the penalty area, and I think that is something to do with the fact that Harry Kane wasn't there. Dominic Calvert-Lewin plays a much more advanced role on the back of the last defender, whereas Harry Kane comes and gets the ball and makes things happen, which is fine. It's two styles of football, but with Grealish and Sancho all wanting to get in behind as well, that didn't really work. We needed that someone to link the strikers in the midfield, and normally in that situation you'd put Foden there and Foden would link it all up together, but we didn't have that. We had Grealish and we had Rashford, who also wanted to get in behind as well, so it didn't really work. When Kane's there, he's going to link that play up. It might mean that most of our goals come from either him after with a 1-2, like him getting into the box after that, or it's going to end with him holding the ball up, someone running in behind, inside forwards kind of thing with Sancho, or with Sterling, or with Rashford, Grealish, Foden. Any of these players, any of these world-class players that we have now at England, any of them can be scoring goals for England when Harry Kane is playing. So I think it's going to be England to top the group, I think, for this one. I'm going to predict them there. However, Croatia could be a threat here, and it also relies on Scotland not doing one over on us, because I know the Scots, they always try harder against England. I completely respect them for it. I would as well if I was in their shoes with their slightly more successful, bigger nation attached right to them. I'd be wanting to get one over on them as much as I could. So let's see whether they will try and get a point at least off us. I think England will scrape through in the end because of the quality that we've got, but for now I'm going to put England top, but it could be up there with Croatia. I think Croatia, I'm going to preemptively put them into second before we talk about them, but I think they'll probably both get 7 points here. I think they'll probably draw with each other, and England will go through on goals scored or goals for, because I think we have the better forwards in this position. But let's talk about Croatia now, actually. Modric and co are going to be another really tough team at this tournament, and Croatia have quality in a lot of positions. Perhaps not the quality that they had to be World Cup finalists back in 2018, but I'd be very surprised if they got to the final in the Euros this year. However, they probably will pose a threat for England. We've got players like Kovacic, Rebic, Kramaric, all really good quality players, Brozovic and Modric, of course. I think they're probably a slightly ageing team, which might show in the later part of the tournament, but for the group stage, they're going to be a challenge, and England will do well to get past them. I think it might be a draw between the two, maybe a 2-2 draw kind of thing, both teams scoring goals, but I think England will ultimately come out on top with a good win against the Czech Republic. If Harry Kane can bag a couple of goals against the Czech Republic, then that'll be vital for England in this tournament. The Czech Republic then, and there's another team that looks pretty uninspiring to me. I mean, they've got a really good core, because I'm looking at Souček and I'm looking at Koufal both from West Ham. Really good quality players. Obviously, West Ham, I've already mentioned, finished in Europe this season. They've done really well, and Souček was a big part of that alongside Declan Rice for England as well. Those two players were really big for West Ham, and I think Souček will do the same for the Czech Republic. I mean, they've got Vaklic and Pavlenka in goal, two really good quality goalkeepers as well. So there's definitely some depth in their team as well, with a little bit of quality. But ultimately, I don't see much going forward. Who's going to be scoring their goals? Is it going to be Patrick Schick? I mean, he's scored 9 goals in the Bundesliga this season. It's not that many. It's not really the person who you want to be relying on. Vydra for Burnley, he's barely played. I mean, Pekar has got a few for Legia Warsaw, 24 in 33 for him. If he can step up and prove that he's not just doing it for Legia, then, and he can do it on an international stage, then maybe goals from him. But I don't really see where the goals are coming from, and I think the Czech Republic and Scotland are going to battle it out for those third and fourth places. Scotland then, and they're another team that has a spattering of talent from the Premier League throughout their team, throughout the core of their team, but perhaps lack the depth like Wales do. They have a few players, a few really standout players. I'm looking at McTominay for Man United, really underrated player in my opinion. He's been really good for Man United this season, really come of age, turned into a midfielder that needs to play Premier League football now and probably will do for Man United in the future. I mean, we're looking at Robertson and Tierney at left back. They're both quality players. I hope they find a way to play them both in the same team because they both need to be in that squad. I think perhaps I'm looking at David Marshall, for example. He has played for Derby this season. Derby have nearly been relegated from the Championship. Is that the kind of player that you want in your team playing in an international tournament? I don't think it is, and I think that shows that they don't perhaps have quite the depth that other teams may have in this tournament. I mean, they've got a few Rangers players in there as well. Rangers, of course, went completely undefeated this season in the league. Unbelievable achievement to go invincible. Only a couple of teams have done it. I think only Arsenal and Celtic have done it. So Rangers have now added to that list, and they have gone an unbeaten season. They did quite well in Europe as well. That's performing on a stage that's much bigger than the Scottish League, perhaps. No offence to the Scottish League, but it's not as big as those top 5 leagues. And if they're playing up against some of those top 5 league opponents, which they did do in Europe, then perhaps those players have the experience to step up in a tournament like this. I mean, I'm looking at Billy Gilmore as well from Chelsea. Looked really good the other day coming on for Scotland from the bench. I think he's a talented youngster, and of course he's got a Champions League winners medal this season. He's played a couple of games in the Champions League, so he did pick one up. They probably need to get in this team. I think Scotland have a decent team, and I think I'm going to put them ahead of the Czech Republic. And I think they will do well in this group stage. I think they're going to perform well. They will try harder against England, as I've said. Hopefully England can still get the win. But no, I'm backing the Scots to come third here, and I think they're probably going to be one of the selections for my best third and fourth place teams as well. So let's move on to Group E. Group E then, and I fully went into this thinking that I was going to say that Spain were going to struggle this tournament. However, they played Portugal the other night and were by far the better team than Portugal. I think they had 66% possession, 10 shots to their 4, those kind of stats where they've 2/3 of the game has been in Spain's favour. And but for Morata having a really poor finishing game, like he is susceptible to do, I think they probably would have won that game by a couple of goals. And Portugal are a team, which we will get onto later, who I think are actually going to be really good in this tournament. So I think that's a bit of a benchmark for Spain to say that they perhaps will be a competitor at this tournament. They have to be in and around the top of that group. Let's put them top for now. But we'll get onto the team that I think's going to challenge them for this title. And that is going to be Robert Lewandowski and the Polish team, who we're going to put straight into second for now. Robert Lewandowski has just made Bundesliga history as their highest number of goals in one league season with 41, which is quite frankly ridiculous at the top level. There's a couple of players who have 50 or so goals for a lower league team, but in the top leagues, over 35, 40 goals is ridiculous to get. And he's just done it in one of the best leagues in the world, in the Bundesliga. So how this man hasn't won Ballon d'Or yet, I have no idea. His finishing is unbelievable, his aerial presence. He drops into those spaces as a striker that the defenders don't see until it's too late. He's already there, he's already at the back post, he's headed across the goalkeeper, and it's a goal before they've even seen him. And that's not, I'm not saying he's a quick player, he's not. He's just a shadow. He just darts between the defenders in the box, gets into a position where the ball can be crossed or passed to him, and then he's also on the ball in a flash. If anything happens in that penalty area, he's first to react. Shots on the spin, bicycle kicks, flicks, turns. He can do the lot. He's one of the best finishers in the world. It's him or Harry Kane. Robert Lewandowski is going to be vital for Poland. But the thing is, they're not just a one-man team. They've got people like Zielinski from Napoli and Klisch from Leeds, who are really good players. Szczesny and Glick at the back. Szczesny, obviously, vital player in the Serie A. And I think Poland are probably going to just pit Spain to the top of this group. I think, again, much like England-Croatia group, I think it will probably be a 7-pointer where both Poland and Spain will get all win against the other two nations, Sweden and Slovakia. But I don't think Spain are going to score enough goals. I think Morata's actually going to be a real problem for them this tournament if he doesn't pick up some goals. I know they've got Gerard Moreno and people like that to come in and replace him if he's not scoring. However, Poland have the best scorer in the world, and I think it's going to be the difference for them. They'll probably outscore Spain, and that's why I think they will finish top of this group. Slovakia don't really have anyone who stands out for me. I think maybe Skriniar, who plays for Inter Milan, is their standout player, but I think that says a lot about them going forward if their standout player is a centre-half. Although he's just won the league in Serie A, you shouldn't downvote him for that. However, I don't think they've got players across the board who can really make a difference at an international tournament. Whereas when you look at Sweden, it's a very similar situation in the fact that they don't have anyone who really stands out. However, they have a few quality players in various roles in their team. I mean, they've got Victor Lindelof, who's obviously a fantastic centre-back for Manchester United. Pontus Jansson as well. They've got Forsberg and Quaison, who both play in the Bundesliga and have both put in good performances this season in Europe and in the Bundesliga. So I think I'm going to put Sweden third and Slovakia bottom of this group. And that is my positions for Group E. Let's see how they compare to the rest of the world. So most people backing Spain to finish top of this group, we completely understand it. They're a team with a lot of pedigree. They've, of course, won the Euros twice in the last 10, 15 years or so. So I completely understand why people are putting them top. But I think I'm going to back the Poles here. I'm going to back the Poles to finish top of Group E. Now, on to Group F, and this is the group of death. 3 huge teams in this group. Potentially, a huge team could miss out here, especially if they don't pick up points against Hungary, who, unfortunately, I'm going to have to put straight to the bottom of this group. There's no way they're going to get out of this group, unfortunately. Certainly not as a third-place finisher, because the likelihood is they're going to be beaten by all 3 of these teams, which is a bit of a shame, because Hungary's team is not bad. They don't have anyone particularly awful in their team, and I think if they had perhaps been in the Netherlands group, for example, they perhaps would have challenged Austria and Ukraine for a position in that group. Probably not, but they perhaps would have stood a better chance anyway. But unfortunately, Hungary, I'm going to have to put you bottom of Group F, because this group is where the interest is from the neutral. This group is so exciting. Three teams that I think could win this tournament going up against each other straight away in the group stage, which means one of them will or may go. So how do you separate these teams? I honestly don't know how I'm going to separate them. I can't separate them off the top of my head. I'm probably going to have to go through them position by position. So goalkeepers, defence, midfield, and then strikers. And perhaps that's the best way to do it. Oh, goodness me. Right, so I'm looking at the goalkeepers. I think Hugo Lloris is probably going to start for France. We're looking at Manuel Neuer for Germany. And Anthony Lopez for Portugal. Rui Patricio could also come in from Wolves. Neuer probably wins that for me. I think Hugo Lloris has probably got a mistake in him, although he is a fantastic goalkeeper and World Cup winner, of course. A lot of these French players will be World Cup winners, and I think that pedigree will shine through eventually, but Germany have the better goalkeeper. In defence, I'm looking at Varane, Kimpembe, Hernandez, Longley. Huge choices for France. We've got Digne at left back as well, Jules Koundé for Sevilla as well. Some real quality in those positions. I think when we look at Germany, damn, they look good as well. We're looking at Rudiger. He's an absolute beast, Champions League winner. Klosterman, Hummels. I was looking him up before this, and I thought Hummels was about 36. He's actually only 32 during this tournament, so he's got a few years left on him. He could still be really important for Germany. We've got Koch from Leeds, Nicolas Soule from Bayern. Germany's defence looks fantastic as well. Portugal have some real gems also. Cancelo right side, Diaz, who obviously plays with Cancelo at Manchester City. Diaz is currently, I would say, the best centre-back in the world. Guerreiro for Dortmund, one of the most exciting left-backs to watch in the world, bombing up and down that left side. Perhaps not known for his defensive capabilities, more known for slinging in a cross or even a goal coming up in some big games to Dortmund this season. So yeah, maybe I worry about the second centre-back position for Portugal, but perhaps I shouldn't. Jose Fonte, Lille of course won the league this year in the French league, and Fonte got in the team of the season, so I think he will certainly be probably their second choice centre-back. They've also got Pepe in reserve, obviously a lot of international experience there with Pepe, former Real Madrid, currently at Porto, still playing in Europe most of the season. So I think Portugal have got some real gems there. I really don't know how to separate them on defence. I think there might be a draw, a three-way draw. In midfield, I love the idea of Renato Sanchez, Ruben Neves and Bruno Fernandes in the midfield for Portugal. Then France have Pogba and Kante, but perhaps don't have the same quality behind the strikers. So they've got those holding role players, but they've not got quite as much going forward, perhaps, from France. Germany just have pure quality and depth in midfield. You were looking at Kroos, Kimmich, Goretzka, Gundogan. Gundogan's had a fantastic season for City. He's come up with some really important goals. Kimmich and Goretzka for Bayern, huge players for them. Kroos has that international experience. He's been playing for ages, Real Madrid. They've got some real quality. I think Germany probably look the best here in midfield. And despite Kante, who is an absolute god of a player, and I think he's fantastic, I think the French team probably have the worst of the midfield, Portugal second, simply because I don't think they've got the depth that the other two have. I mean, when you look up top, Germany have Gnabry, Werner, Sane, Havertz, Muller and Volland, and I'm still going to say that they have the worst of the strikers, because Portugal have Ronaldo, and sometimes that's all you need. That's how they won it in 2016. He basically carried them through every single game. Portugal didn't have the quality to win that tournament, except for Ronaldo. A little bit harsh on the team that won it, but Ronaldo dragged them through it, and he was injured for half of it and still dragged them through it. And I think he could do that again. But this time, you've got that Portugal squad behind him, which actually has loads of quality of it. Of course, Bruno Fernandes is in there, and when he's on your team, you're going to win a few penalties. I'm just joking. He has other qualities. He's such a good player. He's an elite player. United are so lucky to have him. Bruno Fernandes behind Ronaldo could be the difference in this tournament. And then France have players like Mbappe, who a big game player. He comes up trumps when needed. I think he needs to leave PSG to be mentioned in the same breaths as Messi and Ronaldo. I don't think he's going to get that at PSG unless he takes them to a Champions League win. I think they fell short in the league this season, which, quite frankly, is ridiculous. Judging by their team and the amount of money spent on that team, they should be finishing first by 30 points every season. Quite ridiculous that they've not won it. However, Mbappe, I mean, you're looking at Benzema. Benzema can't stop scoring. 30 goals in 43 games this season. He provides assists and pre-assists as well in a very superb Madrid team. And then we have Ben Yedder, Ousmane Dembele, Antoine Griezmann. Ridiculous attack. These three teams are just absolutely ridiculous, and they're so hard to separate. I've just given you pretty much their whole teams to show how much quality they have. I think I'm going to put Portugal topping the group here. I think Bruno Fernandes is going to be absolutely vital, and then they've got quality across the board in all positions. I mean, all three of these teams do have quality in all positions. However, Portugal just have that little bit je ne sais quoi, to put it in French, and the French is who I'm going to put in the next position, just because they've got players like Mbappe, and I think he needs to have a Ronaldo-style tournament if the world champions are also to become European champions. I'm going to put Germany in third, and I'm not really sure why. Perhaps that they might struggle to score. I mean, they've got Timo Werner up front. He's a fantastic footballer, but he's not really shown it for Chelsea this season. He's shown moments of brilliance, but he's missed more than he's scored. And I think he needs to recover his Red Bull Leipzig form if he's really going to make this Germany team beat teams like France and Portugal. And I can only see them getting draws against them. I can't see them winning. So I think Germany are going to come third in this group, Hungary bottom, but Portugal topping the group over France. And that's my decision in Group F. What does everyone else think? So everyone else is going for maybe France to win the group, which I completely understand. They are world champions. People are backing Portugal, which is good to see because they do have a really good team. And Germany just falling short. Perhaps their ageing squad is a little bit to do with it. Perhaps it's that they might not be able to score so many goals. But unfortunately, Hungary finishing bottom. And that is the group stage done. So let's scroll down and look at this 4 best third place playoff teams. And I think we're looking at the teams that are perhaps not going to pick up points as many as the others. I'm looking at Austria, perhaps not going to pick up that many points. I'm looking at Finland. I'm looking at Switzerland. Straight away, I'm going to back Germany. I think Germany will get 3 against Hungary, and it looks like 3 points and a couple of goals should be enough to get you through. 4 points should guarantee you through. So I think Scotland will beat the Czech Republic. So I'm going to put Scotland through. I'm looking at Sweden, Slovakia will probably be a draw. Austria and North Macedonia, that could potentially be a draw as well. But I think I'm going to say that Austria will go through. And then the last place we're looking at is we're going to go with Switzerland. I think Switzerland, perhaps if Seferovic can get on the goal scoring sheet and get some goals, they will get through. However, it could be Finland or Sweden, but that's who I'm going to back. So let's get on to the knockout stage. Now, straight onto the knockout stages, and here's where we're going to speed things up a little bit because we've already talked about all of these teams, and I'm looking at these draws, and there are some huge fixtures here that we're going to have to talk about. Straight away, I can see France versus England down there, but we're going to start with Belgium versus Germany. Belgium versus Germany, such a really good pair of teams to play each other in this tournament. I think Belgium have got so much quality going forward, but Germany have so much quality at the back and in midfield. So it's really whether you can outscore Germany. That's the question. Can Belgium outscore Germany, or will Germany hold them off? I think Belgium are going to go through here, but I wouldn't be surprised if Germany did. Germany going out here would be big news because obviously they're a superb team, but I think if they finish third in the group, they perhaps will be a little bit disheartened. They realise that they've got a really tough game with Belgium, and I think Belgium will just come out on top by outscoring them. So maybe a 3-2 victory or a 2-1 victory for Belgium. They have so much quality going forward. If Lukaku can get his name on the score sheet and stay fit, he is going to be perfect for Belgium. Italy versus Ukraine. I think Italy make it through here. Portugal versus Switzerland, this is no contest. Portugal going straight through here. Switzerland are lucky to be in this stage. I picked them as some of my third place playoff teams, but I don't think they're going to get past Portugal here. Croatia versus Spain is a bit more of an interesting game now. I think Croatia are a really good team, but now that I've seen Spain play, and if they can score goals, then Spain will be okay at this tournament. It's going to be a Spain versus Portugal quarterfinal. Poland versus Austria, again, another one that's pretty easy to call for me here. It's going to be Poland. Poland are a far superior team. Austria looked very poor against England the other day with most of their first team out, and England didn't really get into second gear and still beat them. We'll leave this one for a second and we'll come back to it in a minute because I probably have a bit more to say about this game. So we go on to Netherlands versus Scotland. Now, Scotland I've put through as my third place best finisher here from that group, and I do back them to finish there. However, playing the Netherlands is going to be really difficult. There's so many good players for the Netherlands. I think Scotland will have a good go here, and I probably think they'll send it to extra time. I think Netherlands probably have that little bit of an edge, so I think I'd back them, but I do think Scotland will give them a real good game here. So the Netherlands are going to go through here. Wales versus Denmark. Again, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to send out a home nation here because I backed Denmark as the dark horse of the tournament. Had they been playing someone else, then perhaps they would have gone through, but I'm going to back Denmark in this game. England versus France. Do I think that England can beat the world champions France? England have it all going forward. Everything going forward is them. Can Ben White and Tyrone Mings and Harry Maguire and people like that keep out Kylian Mbappe and Antoine Griezmann? I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. Can England outscore France and get more goals? Again, I'm not sure. France have a really good defence. Hugo Lloris perhaps could be a weak point. Fire some shots at him. Maybe he'll make a mistake. I'm gonna back the boys. I'm gonna back England here. But this is really hard because obviously they are the world champions. This is basically saying, are England going to win the tournament, or is it? I might have a different opinion on that in a second. But England, they're going to go through here. And again, I think it's going to be extra time. I hope it doesn't go to penalties. If it goes to penalties, England are out here because France have far superior penalty takers. Jordan Henderson proved that the other day by missing, for goodness sake. But I'm going to back England here, and England are going to go through to the quarterfinals over France. So into the quarterfinals then, and the first, and all of these games are really interesting matches, and I think Italy and Belgium could be one of those matches that is a real highlight of the tournament for me. I think both of these teams have quality across the board, and especially going forward. So I think Italy or Belgium. Again, it's one of those where I'm not sure who is going to outscore the other. I'm going to back Belgium simply because of Romelu Lukaku here and Kevin De Bruyne. I just think there's a little bit more going for them. I think they probably won't make it to the final here, but Belgium are going to make it to the semis. Portugal versus Spain. They've just played each other. This match happened a couple of days ago in a friendly. Obviously not both teams had their full squads out. Some players are unavailable for selection still, so perhaps that will be something to do with it. But Spain dominated the game. 66% possession, as I've already mentioned, plus almost double Portugal's shots. I might have to back Spain here, but I'm not going to. I'm going to back Portugal because of the Ronaldo factor. I think having Cristiano Ronaldo in your team is just so important. You can have someone that can drag you through a tight game. So this game's tight. It goes to extra time, for example, and like he did a few years ago, he comes up trumps, he turns the game around. A free kick, a header, a bicycle kick, something ridiculous like that. I think Cristiano Ronaldo is your man for these big games, and I don't think Spain have that big game player. Certainly not going forward. Is Morata going to be that player? I don't think he is. Portugal going through here. Netherlands versus Denmark then, and I think this is where the dark horse factor really shows through, because most people are going to back the Netherlands here, but the Netherlands haven't had the best build-up to the tournament. They've not looked that impressive. They've not got the world-class players that perhaps Portugal, France, Germany, England perhaps have. I'm going to back the Danes here and say that Denmark are going to make the semi-finals of Euro 2020. And the team they're going to play in the final is either going to be Robert Lewandowski's Poland or Harry Kane's England. I think it's going to be who has more quality to get the ball to that player. And I think England has more quality going forward than Poland. I nearly called them Portugal then. They have more quality than Poland, and I think it's going to be England that pips them to the post here. England into the semi-finals. Belgium versus Portugal. I think this is where Belgium crash out. Not because I don't think they're a good team, but I just think Portugal are going to be so good. Portugal are straight into the final. And I think here is where Dark Horse doesn't take you all the way. Although it did back in 2004. Greece won the Euros from their Dark Horse position. They're nowhere near to be seen in this tournament. However, Denmark are here. I'm not going to put them through against England. I'm going to back the boys. England are going to the final of Euro 2020. On to the final then, and this is where I am absolutely stumped. I really don't know what to do here, because my head is saying as a sports journalist I need to be unbiased and realise that Portugal are a fantastic team and most of their players know how to play against an English team. And then I'm thinking back to Euro 2004 with England being taken out by Portugal on penalties after a goal was disallowed for a completely ridiculous reason, and England just looked so close to going through then. I think we need to enact revenge, although it is a long time later. It shows how old I am, really, because I'm remembering Euro 2004. But I think England need to enact revenge. Can they do it? Do we have the quality across the board to win the Euros? I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. I mean, Cristiano Ronaldo is going to be coming up against John Stones and Tyrone Mings and Ben White here, but also, oh, that's a good point. Can we keep out Ronaldo with those players in defence? It is England's defence that unfortunately lets us down. I think we don't really have a world-class goalkeeper. The centre-backs are too obvious for me in Maguire and Stones, in the fact that if it's not them, we have a problem. Ben White did prove himself the other day, but it was against Romania. I don't know what to do. Here's where we put in the maths on the screen of thinking, and I'm going to stare emptily into space like so. You know what? I'm going to do it. Euro 2020, football's coming home. England are going to win the Euros, and we're just going to have to outscore Portugal. That's the only way we're going to do it. If that is the final, then it's going to be so tough. It's going to be so tough for England to even get this far. If they get out of their group in first place, they either play France, Germany or Portugal. So straight away we have one of the hardest teams. So to get past the round of 16 is the limit. I think England will either win the Euros or crash out at the round of 16. I've backed them to win the Euros because if they do, I want my prediction to be right. Whereas if they don't, I don't really care. Part of it's that. But also, I really want England to win the Euros. Please let us win the Euros. Come on, Gareth. Come on, the boys. Come on, Harry Kane. England to win the Euros. We can do it. Football's coming home. So that is the end of the video. I've backed England to win Euro 2020. What do you think? Go down in the comments below. I think you have every right to be absolutely pessimistic about England's chances over the last few tournaments that we've done. World Cup semi-finalists, though, let's not forget that England did get to the semi-finals in 2018 in Russia. Tell me what you think in the comments below. Please leave a like on the video if you enjoyed, and a dislike and a comment if you didn't. Tell me what I did wrong. Tell me what I can improve. I'm a new YouTuber. Obviously, I need all the feedback I can get. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Links have been hopefully posted throughout this video if I've done the animations right. I may not have done. If I haven't, then they're down in the description below as well. And also tomorrow, which will be Tuesday, it's probably today now, it might even be yesterday, I'm going to be streaming on Twitch, twitch.tv/the_steak_bake. Please come and join. We're going to be playing the new Minecraft update. They're bringing out 1.17 if you're into Minecraft. I'm also going to be playing some football related stuff as well. FIFA, Football Manager over the next few days. Other games as well. Just chatting. Come in and chat to me about your Euro predictions. I'd love to hear your predictions in chat. So come and join me on Twitch. And thank you very much for watching. I've been the Steak Bake, and I'll see you later.